Asked about the prospect of sanctions last night during his impromptu press availability standing next to Don King, Trump said this.
I think we ought to get on with our lives. I think that computers have complicated lives very greatly. The whole, age of computer has made it where nobody knows exactly what's going on. We have speed, we have a lot of other things, but I'm not sure you have the kind of security that you need.
The whole age of computer has made it so nobody knows what's going on. It's time for our country to move on to bigger and better things. Nevertheless, in the interest of our country and its great people, I will meet with leaders of the intelligence community next week in order to be updated on the facts of this situation. Joining me now, Republican strategist Steve Cortez, former advisor to the Trump campaign. Steve, you and the Trump folks do accept or don't accept that this was Russia? You accept the judgment of the intelligence community?
Listen, I'm not an intelligence officer. Yes, I would believe they're correct. I think this is what's important, though, Chris. Time and again, the mainstream media has been reporting today, and for weeks for that matter, that the election was hacked. And that is simply not the case. The DNC
let me stop you right there.
was hacked.
Let me stop you right there. I've never said on this program the election was hacked. In fact, we've been quite careful about the wording here. We're looking at two things that happened. The DNC was hacked, and John Podesta, who, of course, campaign chair for Hillary Clinton, criminal intrusion and what appears to be political sabotage with the intended effect of hurting Hillary Clinton and helping Donald Trump. That's different from saying it's definitive in the outcome. But my question is, does the Trump world accept that that is what happened?
Listen, that's what's been reported. I don't know. I'm not an intelligence officer. Right now, I think that's what the facts. Here's what I do know.
Wait, finish that sentence right now. Finish that sentence right now. I think that's what the facts.
That's what the facts relay. The intelligence agencies of the United States will clearly come, I believe, eventually to the correct conclusions. What is important, I think, though, is that our election, and this is what's important, and this today, I think, was a highly politicized move, if for no other reason than just its timing alone. This was a politicized move because what's going on, Chris, and I think it's just dishonest to say otherwise. What's going on is there is a move to try to delegitimize, to make illegitimate the victory of Donald Trump electorally.
Sure, but here's the issue. You say the timing is suspect. When would the timing not be suspect? Because if the President of the United States had done this before the election, you, Reince Priebus, Steve Bannon, Kellyanne Conway, Donald Trump himself, Mike Pence, and everyone would be screaming bloody murder that the President of the United States, in a rank partisan move, had messed with the election by announcing this before the election. In fact, fellow Republicans saying this is overdue would probably have been saying the same thing. Isn't that true?
Well, listen, also, when you say fellow Republicans, let's be honest about who's saying that. It's primarily John McCain and Lindsey Graham, who have never been friends of the Donald Trump campaign.
Paul Ryan,
let's be clear.
But answer that question. If the timing here is political, the only other option would have been do it before the election, which would have been seen as more political. Don't you agree?
I don't. I think
you don't think if the president, the sitting president, announced sanctions on Russia and said definitively the intelligence community all agreed they were trying to get Donald Trump elected, that would not be a more political move?
Hold on. Guessing motive is not what our intelligence agencies do. They can say that, yes, perhaps they can say that the DNC was hacked. First of all, Podesta was not hacked. He gave into a phishing scheme, which, by the way, was as juvenile as the emails that we all receive about a Nigerian prince.
You think it was his fault?
Yes,
you believe
who falls for that?
It is the fault
what kind of a senile grandfather falls for that sort of a
You believe John Podesta is a senile grandfather because he was the victim of a phishing attack?
Yes, but here's the more important point too. What we keep talking about is I don't know who did the hacking of the DNC. Podesta was not hacked; he fell for a scheme. The DNC was hacked. That is clear. Who did it? I don't know. What we do know, though, is what was revealed by the hack, and what was revealed was a Democratic Party that was corrupt to its core, particularly when it involved their primary and Bernie Sanders. And the more the American people learned about the Democratic Party and the more they learned about Hillary Clinton, the less they liked and trusted them. And it's one of the reasons we won.
That's right. I don't think that's borne out by the data, but let's just talk for a minute about this idea that this was John Podesta's fault. It does appear to have been a phishing link. Criminal statutes on hacking do include that kind of behavior, right? So if you, under false pretenses, get someone's account through a phishing link, that is a criminal violation, just to be clear on what the law says hacking is.
Sure. Listen, I'm not saying that it was the act of a gentleman, right, to steal his emails. But my point is,
right. So then the question becomes: is there any methodology of obtaining information that you think would invalidate it? Right. So if gunmen showed up at Trump Tower today, took everyone hostage, broke in and stole a bunch of documents, but the documents were interesting, you'd be cool with all of us reading them, right?
No, I clearly would not. And listen, cyber hacking cybersecurity in general is a major issue of national security for the United States, from Russia, from China, from a host of nations, and I think we have been feckless in our response to that, and not just this administration, but the previous administration under George W. Bush. So I am heartened that we're going to take this seriously, but it's also just as important, I think, in a political season with a president-elect to not try to in any way act as though these revelations make his victory any less legitimate.
Well,
and if anything, what was revealed the true nature of the opposition he was running against.
I do think the statement of the president was pretty narrowly tailored on that. Steve Cortez, I appreciate your time tonight, man. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Joining me now, Missouri Secretary of State and 2016 Democratic Senate candidate Jason Cantor. Your reaction to today's events?
Well, it's pretty upsetting when it turns out that the president-elect is either not sure how computers work or is just using some sort of feigned ignorance about computers and claiming he thinks they hack themselves to excuse himself from having to accept the facts or listen to the American intelligence community. What really worries me is the Trump camp's perception that this is somehow just a part of American partisan politics. And we used to have this saying that we used all the time in this country, which was politics stops at the water's edge. And the reason that we did that is because we're one American family, and we have arguments amongst one another about what direction we should go. But if somebody tries to come in and go after one of us, we all stand up and we protect this country. And that's what I want President Trump to do in 22 days, is stand up and protect the country. Don't just worry about protecting his own insecurities. You know, you asked about my experience with it. I actually view it from the perspective of somebody who, you know, I'm a former Army intelligence officer, and in 06, I was in Afghanistan gathering intelligence, risking my life, going into rooms that, you know, there were some shady characters in, and I would on occasion have to wonder whether I was going to get out of that room. And there are still people doing that all over the country, or all over the world. And so whether it's Russian hacking or any other kind of intelligence, when the president-elect communicates the idea that he's not interested or doesn't believe in the credibility of that intelligence, I can't imagine how that would have made me feel back when my commander-in-chief at the time, President Bush, if he had said that he wasn't interested in that information, it would have affected the way I felt about it.
Yeah, that's a good point. And to that, I mean, the statement from the president-elect today is basically, you know, we know he has been briefed on this, but I'll meet with him next week. There's almost a kind of begrudging quality to the statement.
What I'm worried about is a president who is only interested in hearing from the intelligence community when they give him information that confirms what he already thought.
Right.
And I'm not worried about that as a Democrat I'm worried about that as somebody who lives in the United States of America and has a family. And I'm counting on this next president, just like we've counted on this one, to protect me and protect my family. We are all counting on him to do that. And when he would rather pretend that he thinks computers hack themselves, you know, he has a big leadership test coming up, and that is this. He is about to have to decide whether or not he is going to put himself first or put the safety of the country first. And in order to put the safety of the country first, he's got to trust the U.S. intelligence community at least more than he does what he already had in mind himself.
Jason Cantor, thanks for your time tonight. I appreciate it.